Welcome to another episode of Heart and Hustle Podcast.
Doo-doo-doo.
Super excited for this one yet
Yeah,
again.
you're very excited about this one. You've only subtle hints at jokes about it for the last couple episodes.
Listen, one way or another, we are going to figure this out together.
All right.
So one of the things that we've been working on in general, in business and life, whatever, is telling our story. And I'm more of an open book. I've always been. I don't really care. But when I met Travis,
What are we, 41 seconds in, you're already laughing about it?
I can't help it. I'm going to laugh this whole episode and he's going to cry. Just kidding. I don't really laugh at his trauma. This is how we cope. And no, obviously, whatever. I don't need to freaking explain myself.
We got called out on it, though.
I don't care. Whatever.
It's my trauma. I laugh how I want to laugh.
Yeah. And I hold him while he cries. It's fine. Anyway, Travis, when I first met him, I feel like unless you were in his life daily, which is like close to nobody, you didn't know he existed. So very opposite of me. I even thought he moved so slow with like letting me come to his house and just like letting me know anything. Like he wouldn't tell me his last name. He told me the initial, like just, he's so secretive that I thought he was living a double life. I was like, I don't know if I should like actually date this man and trust him. So all that to say, we've come a long way.
I did want to say the correct word here is protective of himself.
Yeah.
Not secretive.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And it's not that you didn't have good reason. Yeah. And I'm just different. And I didn't want to be.
Took years to find out why.
Yeah. And that's okay. But now we're in a place in life where it makes sense he's been dissecting his story and finding himself. And like, we're going through the whole like self-discovery thing. And that's obviously such a big like just situation to get through. Anyway, so we're learning to tell his story. And I'm really excited for that because anybody who knows Travis is obsessed with him. He's so unique and intricate, and there's literally nobody on this planet who's built like you. And I think that's why sometimes we say like, oh, we laugh at your trauma, because like I always say how grateful I am for it because it made you you. And it's all just a bunch of like, you're going to tell your story. So
some
I'm
of these,
really excited for
we worked on just a couple like talking points or questions together, what I may or may not have felt comfortable with talking about. So I'm going to start the record off by saying in no way, shape, or form do I give you the rights to redistribute or repurpose my videos without my consent. So without further ado.
Oh, this are people repurposing you?
I don't know.
They will be. All right. So where do we want to start? I guess we'll start right in the hard part because I think that's where things really kick off. And that was, let's talk about the relationship with your dad and then his untimely death. And I feel like, because that was really, we're going to skip the beginning. At some point we'll get to like your whole childhood because that's very important as well.
So my biological person, who I call my biological sperm donor because he left when I was a toddler. And so my stepdad, who came in the picture around when I was like 5, I call him my dad. So if you hear me referencing my dad, it's him. So it's not the other guy. So
we don't know him.
No. I mean, I remember a lot, but like she said, we'll get to that in another thing, because with trauma you deal 2 ways. You either remember nothing or you remember everything, and everything very vividly. And unfortunately, I'm the latter. I remember everything and everything very vividly. So at least for now, we're going to talk about who I consider my dad. So
yeah, just because that's a whole other can of worms to get through your childhood and all of that. So let's start with the man you consider your dad. Tell us like a little bit about him and like your relationship or whatever.
So we used to have a pretty much, when he was home, we would have a very normal, like, father-son thing. We would go fishing. He taught me how to change oil, work on cars, change oil, change the tires, rotate the tires, fix a tire, typical mechanical stuff.
The classic dad stuff.
But again, I say when he's home because he owned a water tank inspection company and also was partnered with another family member in a bridge painting company. So um, he was on the road a lot, and he had a lot of government contracts, independent contracts. So, but when he was home for huge chunks. So when he was gone for pretty much huge chunks, but he would come home 3 to 4 days at a time. So it's not like he would just disappear for 60 to 90 days. It would just be like, all right, you've been gone for 3 weeks. Now you're going to come home for 4 days. And then you got to go back for like 3 weeks. And then you come back for 4 days. And then once the job finished up, you were home for 30 to 60 days until you won another bid. And then you moved on. So
It's
you've,
very unique lifestyle.
yeah. And my mom was a stay at home mom. Um, you know, growing up, they had separate businesses and in the restaurant industry. And then when she became a stay at home mom is when he took to taking up his college degree and starting those businesses. But for many years, she was a stay at home mom. And oftentimes she would go travel to see him, but I would stay behind because of school. And so we would stay with a friend or a relative. I mean, we were, at this point, we were younger teenagers. So at different times, you could stay at home at 14 years old. It didn't matter as long as you had someone checking in on you.
And that was like back in the day before.
Yeah, you're talking the early 2000s, way different nowadays. So you fast forward, and I was at a time in my life. I was 19 years old, and my life was getting ready to change. I was at the time I was doing a poker thing with my buddies, and that was getting shut down. And then I had to like take some time to think about what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden, when all of those things that I was getting ready to do were lined up, I get a phone call one morning, and my dad died. So um, it was what I would still consider the summer. It was in August. It was a week after my parents' anniversary. He was on his way home when it happened. He loved to drive. So he was on his way home when it happened. And they said that he hydroplaned off the road um, and didn't make it. So um, I was 19. My mom broke the news to me. And at that time, we were already taking care of, as a family, me, her, and my dad, of my eldest niece. And I didn't know how to break the news to her because she thought this was her dad because of how close, I mean, as an infant to the house, she was living with us. I watched my mom go from the highest of highs, and this was like right when our life was finally like officially changing for the most part, like not really worrying about a lot of things because like they lived a very fancy lifestyle, so it wasn't necessarily like champagne budget or champagne lifestyle with a beer budget, but it was like champagne and then diamonds. Like they lived outside of our means, which to a normal family would be ridiculous because we had all the nice things, but you would also just not have power for 3 days because you blew the money on a diamond necklace or something stupid. So many times I don't know where the financial crisis occurred with them. But anyways, now my mom was sitting here facing no income coming in. I already signed a lease to like move out. And so after rationalizing all that, like I couldn't leave. And then on top of that, my other sister, had a daughter. And at this time, one of my nieces is 4 and the other one is 2. And now I'm 19 and I'm responsible for changing the lives and taking care of my mom, who's a widow, for not the first time. My 2 sisters' daughters at 4 and 2, and I have no idea what I'm doing at all. I watched my mom consistently battle fighting, just wanting to drink sun up to sundown. I saw it every day. And I'm not really sure. When I look back, I'm not really sure that a lot of the moves that I made were the right ones, but they were the best ones that I could make at the time.
You were 19,
Yeah.
taking care of your entire family. As you didn't mention this part, you're the youngest of 4 kids, and you are still the one who had all of this on your shoulders, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, there's way more that goes into it than money. Because like, as far as the money goes, like there was some money left over, obviously, like bank accounts and yada yada. But my brother had to step in and help in the financial aspect at times as well. Um, but there's way more to that. I don't think anybody felt the burden of like being there. Obviously, like everybody else had a job that's older than me, but I didn't have like a clock in job at the time. And so my mom ended up going to work, and then I'm sitting here home raising 2 kids, sun up to sundown, and I did not have a great childhood. So like I didn't really know what to do because my parents were gone all day. So um we were just left playing, and we had each other because I had older siblings. So it was normal for, my sister or my older brother to just be, if they're not working, like, yep, you're watching your siblings today. And like that was it. But I didn't have that. So yeah, I mean,
That's insane. And all of that while also, like you said, watching your mom go through depression and struggling with alcohol. And, it was very like tumultuous that you had to deal with that and watch her grieve and try to hold it together for her family as well. Um, that's incredibly hard. How does all of that like change your view of like family and responsibility? And because you overnight you went from like getting ready to move out of your parents' household and like really have freedom and go off on your own. You were going to live with your buddies. You were making good money online where you could sustain your lifestyle. Like you were about to be free, and instead you got quite the opposite. And obviously that changed your entire life and the decisions you made. And how do you feel that changed? What was that like switch for you or during that time period?
well, it's interesting because I don't feel like nobody, I didn't have a conversation with anybody about like, to my knowledge, if I was going to stay. Or it was never brought up to my mom, like, well, now what's Travis going to do? It was never, I don't know if it was just assumed from everybody else that wasn't me, but I just knew that I couldn't.
Oh,
I just, it's tough because I can't honestly say if it was just my mom, what I would have chosen, but because there was 2 kids involved, like I had to stay. Um,
yeah. That had to be really hard. I mean, thank God you did, because things ended up the way, they were supposed to. And those kids turned out awesome. But I can't even imagine what would have happened if you would have like had another choice or thought you had another choice or made a different choice. I don't know. Okay, so moving beyond that, you spent years playing that role and raising the girls and, figuring it out without your dad, which is insane.
it was about a couple years that lasted before things started to change. My mom's alcohol addiction got a little worse. And these are things that I can't blame anybody for because, again, this wasn't even her first time that she had lost a husband. Um,
With more kids and responsibility, I mean, she lost it.
it was almost like she, yeah, I mean, sorry. I'll always give her credit for doing what she can do or did what she did with the best that she was able to do. Being a parent now, of my own. And I understand that we have way more resources to and knowledge, and there's way more information out there. But I just feel like a lot of parents don't try their best. And you can say you're trying your best, but it's like that old saying that people say is like your actions are louder than words. So, yeah, you might be providing and you might be doing this and you might be struggling here, you might not be struggling there, but you'd have to be ignoring on purpose to know that there are people out there doing more things with their children, having a better life with their children, providing better for their children, and then your excuse is I'm doing the best I can, and that's the ceiling. So there's no animosity, but there was just always confusion. And I don't know what it's like to walk in the shoes that she had on, so I can't judge. I can only be thankful that I turned out the way that I did and she's still alive. So outside of that, as far as that goes,
Do you feel like because she's still alive, that's a reason that you struggled with like ever opening up about anything that had to do with you? Like, because obviously, like, we love your mom. She went through it, also put you through it. Like, there's good, there's bad. It is what it is. This is part of the journey, and like we're very accepting of it. But there is a lot of like negative that you have had to actively turn into a positive. And since she's still alive, like I know I struggle with that, so I'm wondering if you do as well, because it's almost like how do you
no,
like preserve?
her being alive wouldn't depict if I tell a story or not. Because if I have something to say, if it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, I'm just going to say it because my intentions aren't to hurt your feelings. My intentions are to clear the air,
Yeah.
or they're to make me feel better. And if you're the cause of feeling like you're being attacked by something I have to say, that I can't say that that's all on you, but it's probably 95% on you. I mean, everybody's going to talk about what they want to talk about when it comes to the person they are and everything. And, for a lot of people that don't know, I don't talk to my families like at all. Like my dad's side of the family, when he passed away, a lot of them showed their true colors at the funeral, and I just cut him off right then and there.
Which is
Um,
even more to deal with that you don't really like again talk about or I think process, but like you didn't just lose your dad, you lost everybody connected to
whatever
him that
whatever
day.
the verbiage is, not a um whatever the verbiage would be or the label for like just not like you're the only one in your family, like you don't have family members
Yeah.
like outside your siblings, like whatever that is like called, like that's how I always felt. Because I do have cousins, stuff like that. A couple of them occasionally will text back and forth, but we live so far apart from each other that it's hard to maintain that relationship. There has been such a divide and this is largely on my mom's side of the family. There's been such a divide between us, and this stems back since like when I was a kid, like a tiny
Which
kid.
has nothing to do with
It's got
you and
nothing to
like
do with
all
me.
of the
No.
cousins or any of that crap,
And it
but
was
they're
just it
all
just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. But again, even from when I was a late teenager, I didn't agree with a lot of the things that they said. I didn't agree with a lot of the things that they did. I didn't agree with a lot of the ways they thought. And that caused a big rift because they were so used to, and by they, I mean my aunts and uncles, like they were so used to how they were raised. It was almost like they just again, the expectation to just continue a pattern rather than be like, what's wrong here? Is there something wrong here? Can I fix it? And, me and one of my uncles who were so close had a massive blowout over, if we're being honest, something fucking stupid. But in the grand scheme of things, it's stupid. But at the end of the day, it was based on morals. Um, and I wasn't going to stand for it anymore. I was my own person at that time. And you fast forward to even now, like they all just act like because they're older, you should be calling them.
it's the
And
very
it's
old school
yeah,
Italian,
it's
but like we
so
are in
ass backwards.
2025.
I
We
can
talk.
never I can never imagine in my life having a child and then having a grandchild And then I sit there and then I'm so bitter that I complain, that I make my stance to why, as the grandparent, that if I don't talk to somebody or the uncle, that if I don't talk, or aunt for you, if you don't talk to somebody because they don't call you, is that the same behavior you give your friends? Is that the same behavior you give your own kids? Like, if you don't hear from somebody you love, do you just don't pick up the phone and call? Like, you don't shoot a text message? Like, you're that stubborn, naive, and old school that you're just like, they don't talk to me, they don't want nothing to do with me. And it's just like,
write you off.
I'm the one who's always made the contact for the most part. Again, except for the one uncle that I was very close with, excluding my cousins, because again, we text every now and then. But as far as like my older family members go, like, they are still very much. I guarantee if you ask them, they're just like, "Oh, he doesn't call me." Why do I need to call you? When have you ever called me? When? Ever? I'm always picking up the phone when we were talking, calling you. There were times I would sit there and my brother would get a birthday call or a birthday card, and I got shit
Yeah.
from the same people.
So it's not about just not calling. It's like straight neglect. Like, it's like you're not part
Again,
of
it's just a
this.
history of like, it was a snowball effect of never liking my biological person and then taking it out on my mom. And then my mom moved us across the coast from Massachusetts to Florida. And that's probably the best thing she's ever done for us, because honestly, I don't know how it would have been if I would have moved up there
You would have
or
turned
lived
out
up
like
there.
them.
But also, I mean, maybe not, because
True.
either
So
way,
one of the core things of your story, and like why I really am obsessed with like you letting people in on like how you grew up and stuff, is because it's a core theme that when everybody else was one way, you observed the situation and decided that you wanted to be the opposite, and then you became the opposite. So that's why I think it's like, I mean, and stories are important anyway, but seeing where you came from and all of the ways that you made the absolute opposite decision is the reason that we are here and we are happy and we live the life we do. So major kudos to you. And that has been true for your entire life. Like, before, I think even actively you knew that you had to like make those better decisions. You just always, you were built that way. You were, and like you said, and now, you know, we lost your dad and his side of the family, but like you've always kind of been the outlier because you've been a little different in how you operate or think, or your morals and values. And you've always had a stronger like sense of family. Well, I don't want to say that, but like just different. And
no, I've always, so one of my best friends who's like a literally brother to me, is when my brother and I had no family down here because we moved my mom back up there in 2015 because we felt that was the best thing for her, because she could have more support around her to help her and guide her and everything. And it would be a healthier environment than down here and just, you know, having the constant addictions. That my brother and I, so he's like a brother to me. My brother and I would go to his house, and we would sit there for the first holiday, and we went home and sat on the couch because we were living together and just like sat in silence for like 30 minutes. And we were just like, is that what a real family's like?
oh,
Like, it was wild that they sat in a house, also Italian, loved each other, played games, happy to be around each other. Everybody brought something. And we got home and we're just like, we were robbed. Like, just straight up robbed.
dang, this is the second time you have me almost crying on your episode, even though I've heard this story a million times. Like, you know what I mean? But I just can't imagine that. And we still go to his house for a lot of holidays.
Yeah,
He's our
at least
family.
one. Now that we have our own family, you know, we do our own thing sometimes, but we go to his house at least for one like when it comes to the holiday specifically, at least one holiday a year.
Yeah, and usually on other holidays, we'll like at least stop by
Yeah,
for part of the day or whatever,
Yeah.
because they're such a wonderful family and have just completely
they've been in
welcomed
our
you
daughter's
and
life
then
since she
us.
was like.
Before she was born. I mean,
Well, no, I'm saying in her life, like she was born in March, and that one year Easter was in April, and she was at Easter at their house. Like,
that was her first holiday
Yeah.
ever at their house, and it was the best. And my family, who I'm the outsider of this situation here, my parents came down for that holiday, and then they came to Easter at your best friend's house with us because their family is just
Yeah.
the best. So, all right. So now just kind of pivoting. So you moved your mom and niece up to Boston to be back with the rest of her family because all of his family is from Boston. Mom moved down to Florida where she raised the kids, and that was a wonderful thing until she lost her husband again, and then you moved her back up there for her mental health and support. So now let's talk about your brother and the business and how that came about, and because this is kind of like the next phase of your life after
So
that.
when I was living with my mom, so then uh, my younger of the two nieces, um, got old enough, a couple years older, and then her mom was able to get back on her feet and everything, and then so she went back with her,
In
and then
Florida.
in Florida, and then so now it was just my mom and my eldest niece, and so we did have some extended family that lived in St. Augustine, and so my mom went over there for a little while to live, and then I would say that the addiction probably got a little better because she wasn't around her friends that can make it worse over here. So, but then after a couple years, at that time when she did move, one of the biggest reasons because my brother saw that I probably was never going to get out of there because I just wouldn't put myself first.
Travis's older brother is 10 years older than him for context. So there is a bit of an age gap. So he was kind of a leg ahead to be able to help out in this way.
So he threw me basically a lifeline, um, to where we started our first business together. And I told him specifically, this is probably the only time I've ever actually remember saying this was, I can only do that if I can live with you. And I remember telling him that I can't take it here anymore. And I think he's the only person I've ever at that time opened up to about it. And there wasn't really any hesitation. Obviously, I think he knew. So then my mom continued to stay in the house she was in with my niece, my brother and I. I mean, we would go over there for the holiday and such like that. Um, I feel a lot of guilt for leaving my niece in that environment as long as I did because I don't even know what her day to day was compared to what it was when I was there. Right? Like, what did she see? And so you fast forward to her moving up. My brother and I started a business, and I had no idea what I was doing, like none whatsoever. Is a retail store dealing in collectibles, and he was still at his job where he had a corporate America job, and everything day to day fell on me. And a lot of times I couldn't text him like what to do because he couldn't just answer his phone all the time. Even just responding via text just wasn't a thing. So then I'm trying to sit there and figure out how am I supposed to do all this stuff on the fly, and I can't. And there's a lot of core values that he taught me, and a lot of harsh things that I learned that he taught me. For instance, for one is one of the collectibles we were working in, there was two versions of it. And we had one version that was the more expensive version. But when I priced it out, I put the wrong one in. And I remember this day, I was sick. I wasn't feeling good. I was very under the weather. And somebody came in and bought the last 4 or 5 that we had of it. And instead of $110 a piece, I sold them to him for $10 a piece.
Oh, goodness.
And so when my brother came by after he got out of work, we talked about it, and even I was a part owner, or I am a part owner still, but at that time, I had to take and put the $400 out of my pocket into the register.
That's funny. I bet you never made that mistake again.
I never made it again, but I can also tell you what I never did, as I never forgot it because I couldn't wait for him to slip up.
Oh, yep. And I was actually part of your life when he slipped up because I remember how you were so
Oh
excited
man, I
that
brought
you
it
caught
up.
him.
I brought that up like a parent promised a kid
Yeah,
dessert after dinner, and they tried to sneak out on the offering.
that's funny.
I couldn't wait. And when he said, I remember he specifically says like, "Why do I need to do that?" And I pointed right out to it. I say, "Remember that time I did this?" And yeah, so I couldn't. But yeah, when we got involved, I wasn't sure anything I was doing. I wasn't sure day to day. Like, but then I just had to learn it all on the fly. Every single thing of business I've ever learned was on the fly.
Do you have ideas as to like or how? Like, did you read
I feel
books?
like
Did
business was
you?
always ingrained in me because again, when I was growing up, my parents had business restaurants.
Mm.
So I was always involved in the restaurant business. So I just think subconsciously I knew what not to do other than, mess up on a $400 mistake. Um, I knew what not to do, right? Like don't leave the door unlocked when you go to leave, or don't forget to set the alarm and treat customers with respect and all those things. But as far as like growing, I think a lot of it was luck because my biggest thing is customer service.
Well, that's a skill. That's not luck.
I don't try. It's a very rare thing that I can toot my horn about, or it's very rare that I'll toot my horn. And it's one of those things that I do toot my horn about is customer service because I just feel like, again, stemming back from the things with my family, it's just treat people how you want to be treated. It's so simple. We were taught that as kids, but like even the people that taught us that, like they didn't do shit for me. They didn't treat me with respect. They might have thought that was their version of respect, but compared to normalcy, that wasn't respect. So I think a huge portion of our blow up was customer facing customer support, and not I'm going to pass you along to a manager to deal with this. It's like you're dealing with the owner directly. So
Oh, so I guess that is a unique thing that you had to deal with that a lot of people don't is you didn't have staff or a manager
I was
or
the only
somebody
person.
else, right? So you
Yeah.
every interaction you had to deal with and every negative interaction, excuse me, every problem,
Yeah.
like you had to work in real time through everything and you couldn't do it behind a curtain like you had to do it face to face while they were right there. That's a
Yeah.
crazy skill to build that I don't really know how else you could build that unless you were thrown in the situation you were thrown in.
I've had some of the best, and I've had some of the worst. Like people coming in. And I mean, some people just go off their rocker right out the gate, coming in hot, hotter than hot.
What's the worst insult you've ever? Well, maybe even I can think
I
of
don't know if
two.
I can say it.
It's our
Uh,
podcast. You can say what you want.
yeah, but YouTube might have a problem.
Bleep.
Um, Somebody wanted me to buy because again, it was collectibles, right? So we do buy, sell, and trade, and we have wholesale accounts for the stuff that we bring in as well. But then also very similar to like a pawn shop, if it has a collectible item in that field, we can buy, resell it, yada yada. There was a gentleman that came in one day, didn't have anything fitting the criteria that we had, but then he just really needed money. I'm dealing with a customer already, and I'm telling this gentleman that I would need him to wait. And then as I'm flipping through the other person's stuff, I just simply said, just so he's entertained and I'm talking to him. And I said, what is it you have? Maybe I can help you out while I'm doing this. And he tells what he has. And I said, oh, okay, well, unfortunately, it's not something we're in the market for. It's not really our expertise. It's not what we're doing. And he just says, well, I just really need X amount of dollars. And I said, I understand, but I can't just give it to you because that's going to be useless to me. We just don't sell it. And then we go back and forth a couple times. I'm being polite. He's getting more aggressive. I try to tone it down. On his way out, he turns around after I thought the situation was de-escalated. He turns around and looks at me and he goes, F you, F your store, F your mother. She should have swallowed. And me and the other customer just look at each other. And I think he was waiting for me to jump over the counter. And again, I'm 19, 20 years old.
That's a good insult.
Whatever.
That's funny.
It wasn't funny at the
Oh,
time.
I bet it was not.
Um,
That's funny. That's a bad one. Who has the audacity to?
but all I hit him with was, I'll let her know. That was it. I'll let her know.
Word. And you did not let her know.
No.
You didn't talk.
I feel like she thinks that anyway. We're being honest. Like,
You're stupid. No, she doesn't. Oh goodness. And then wait, there was another insult that I feel like you should tell the people while we're on it. What the little boy tell you?
Oh
Or
man,
it was like a
this
quick
was
one
only like
liner.
4 years ago.
I know.
This this all right. So this little boy comes in. I'm I'm very familiar with his dad. You know, he's been coming in a long time, and we always joke around, me and the kid. Kid's like 8, 9, and he sits there one day, and we're talking about something, and he goes, "Yeah, real funny for someone born in the 1900s."
Ouch. What's that?
It processed so fast in my head that I think I was so mad that it was such a good insult because he was 8 or 9 years old. And it just got me thinking, like, what an insult to tell someone that they were who's young, born in the
It's
1900s.
so funny. And you
Wild.
were.
I know, but
You
no
were.
one but he didn't say late 1900s, and it would have been less of a jab. He just said 1900s, like I was born in like 1927 or something.
Dang.
Like,
The fact that he can say it and it's true is such a stinger. That's funny. Okay, so as you're learning and growing the business and figuring it out on your own, did you feel like you had any like I know in person you didn't have any mentors, but did you feel like there was anybody you looked to or did you really just figure it
no,
out in real time? I knew that was the answer, but I wasn't
no.
sure if
I didn't read a book. And that's my fault, right? Like I was so busy. I jumped from chaos to a different type of chaos.
and really you didn't have time to sit and be on a
No, I was
computer, on a
working
phone, like you were face to
6 days a
face.
week, 70 hours a week. Like it just, there was no time. And when I did chill, like after that, that was for the first couple years, right? So eventually I did start to read into business and use my brain to think of ways to grow. But I did that a lot of times in just passing convo or like down quiet time. You know, even just spitballing with my brother. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have books. I didn't do none of that. Um, that I didn't get enjoyment like I do now out of that stuff. Like I did back then. Like back then, it was more like, how do I shut everything off, but like still grow?
Well, you were like so at your capacity
I
that
was
you didn't.
beyond it.
Yeah, exactly. And you've been beyond it for years and you
Yeah.
were in survival mode. Like there's a lot of what was happening at that time. Okay, so you're growing the business for a few years and then not to make this about me, but I came in the picture. This is now
Oh
where I
boy.
this is now where I enter the story. Um and I don't think we get too deep into this because this is gonna be the longest episode ever. But let's talk about maybe like our beginning and what that looked like, and then we.
So eventually, I did find a business person that I enjoyed talking to and companying with, and he was a local business owner, and he opened up a new restaurant and bar, not too far down the street. And so I got close with him. After they opened, you know, we would see each other at least once a week, usually there, and we would talk about business and what he has going on and everything like that. And ironically, that's where she worked. Um, and eventually uh we exchanged phone numbers, and then everything was just friends because me, him, and her, and then a few other people she worked with, and then a few people I hung out with, we'd all get together and either go on the boat.
Also important to note, the man that he's talking about that he would talk business with, I worked for this man as a bartender, but he was very much like a business mentor to me as well. I moved to Florida like looking specifically for business mentors and stuff. So like separately, I also had that like particular relationship with him. It wasn't like I was just like a random employee. So that
Right.
does change the dynamic of things for
Yeah.
sure, of like how we met
We
and
solely started out as just friends. Like it was just simply because it was in the same group that he would invite places to. Like that's, you know, for the most part. Like that's a lot of it happened, but didn't hurt that she had a pretty smile on her butt. Um,
you're goofy.
so yeah, and then that's pretty much the other side of the business that I was able to knowledge I was able to obtain.
Yeah. That was fun times, fun little era. So then
Yeah.
we got together pretty rapidly. I had lived down here, like away from all of my family and everybody I knew. And at the time, I had just gotten out of a relationship and like left that lease and was in between places to stay. So I was staying with somebody I considered a brother in Tampa, which was like an hour from where I was working, and I wanted to be down this way. I just like made this new connection with Travis and everything. So, and I built a whole life down here. I loved it here. So I was like in between places. So that kind of prompted us to move in quickly together as well. Like we didn't have to make that choice, but we did because we had really serious talks in the beginning. And we decided if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And like we were both all in and whatever. So we had moved in together like pretty quickly.
Yeah, the other option was she was going to move back home, and I just said if that was going to be the case, then I'd rather not. Um, I just it almost never works, and B, we just didn't really know each other enough to just be like 100% that especially if she like me being down here, like there was a much bigger chance in my brain that like I was just still going to be independent, whereas if she moved back, like that's where her whole life is from. Like the chances of her in my brain, okay. I mean, there's plenty of people that maybe you could go back to, and maybe you get in a relationship with someone, and it's like I just rather not. Like, so if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, and we took a gamble.
Yeah, it worked out great, and then we became parents.
Yeah. So after about 4 years, three and a half, we had a kid, and best kid ever on the planet.
She really, really is.
Super smart, looks like her dad.
She does not.
Definitely has my personality.
And we're skipping a lot of steps here. Our story's so juicy and good. I wish we could sit here and talk about it all. But obviously we cannot in this one episode. So in order to try to keep us very focused and just kind of keep your story transition going. So we have this kid. She's amazing. I'm a stay-at-home mom so we both don't really have family here. As we said earlier, Trav moved his family up north. My whole family was in Pennsylvania. I moved here by myself. So before we even got pregnant, we knew that we want to raise our own kid. We don't want daycares raising our kids and nannies and all this stuff. So we decided that I was going to be the stay-at-home mom. And
we had during pregnancy, we had built side hustles to bring in income, especially if she was not going to be working.
Because we're losing a bartending salary. Like that's
it's free money.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of change that we were just playing with.
Yeah. So we already built those. And then, I think when she had just teetering between 8 and 9 months pregnant was when she wanted to stop. I wanted her to stop earlier, but
I tried to stop earlier, I think, and I got really like bored. I started to get depressed, and I gained a ton of weight. Like I was pregnant. So anyway, yeah, I started bartending again, and then when it got
super
to be
small
too hard,
shifts during like non-busy peak hours, just as something to do, as exercise, steps, blah blah blah. Yeah,
socializing, that was great, and then became a stay-at-home mom in 2019. And exactly after a year, our daughter turned a year, COVID hit. So that changed our plans in many ways, which we've touched on and we'll touch on even more. But I think the main thing that series of events of like having our daughter, me being a stay-at-home mom, us building these side hustles, growing the card shop, and then COVID happening and having to change our plans and timelines and outlook on everything. And then, so basically what I'm trying to get at is like how we stepped away from the brick and mortar and like through that process where that decision was made, because this was something that kind of we've been stumbling on and talking about for a long time.
Yeah, we had been going back and forth for a while, when the right time was. And then, like I said, COVID happened, and then more things happened, and then going back and forth. And then just one day, I don't even know why it wasn't so obvious to me prior, I think we spoke about this in an episode or two ago, where you miss so much time with your kids when they're younger that you don't realize. You spend way more time with the people you work with than you do your family 9 times out of 10. And
these are people you care significantly less about.
I don't know. And again, since COVID, I had trimmed hours back dramatically. I mean,
yeah, actually, COVID forced us to trim back hours. And then because that happened, you were able to see where you didn't have to add those extended hours anymore, because in the time frame that you had to have, you were able to still grow and produce revenue.
I just always felt like obligated to be there when there was something going on, or like
So you physically felt obligated to be in the store when something was going on, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
like an event or a very busy day or delivery day. So like I always
And it was
felt
always
that way.
something every day.
Right. And it got to the point where I didn't I just I wasn't willing to put it before my family anymore. Um, your kids when they get up to a certain age, they start looking the same for the rest of their life. They start talking the same for the most part for the rest of their life and do all that. And it's like I don't want to get to that age and then I realize my kid's not, you know, super little anymore. And
You were having really big troubles with feeling like you were missing it.
because I saw a
And you
lot,
weren't.
I
You were home
saw
a
a
lot.
lot of what I went through,
Yeah. Where they
just
missed
in
everything.
similar things. Yeah, I mean, I never missed anything big for my kid. I always made sure, but it just always seemed like I was either going to be, and I'm not saying he would have judged me like my brother and partner and whatever, but it always just felt like I was going to be either judged, he wasn't going to be happy with me, or I wasn't going to be happy with myself if I decided to take a random 4 to 5 days off and go on vacation. Or what if I did go and take a random vacation and then like a couple days later, it's like, oh, my daughter has something I need to go for 2 days for cheerleading. And it's just like, I just don't even want to face that problem anymore. And, kind of made the decision for myself at that point. So, um, I wanted to make all of my micro moments that I may have missed and magnify them into everything I do with you and her is a big memory.
Yeah. I love that about you. And that's why I say, like, sometimes I laugh at your trauma. Again, nobody's laughing at your trauma, but like, it made you love me so hard. It made you the biggest family man. It made you the best dad in the world. It made you the most intentional partner. You are an amazing human being. And it is because you decided you didn't want to be like what you went through. So,
Which is crazy because they often say, especially Italian men, but men are attracted to women that remind them of their mother. And then for women, they say that they go after men that remind them of their dad.
I think it's called
And
Freudian theory and
and number
psychology.
one, I couldn't be further fucking away from attracted to a person resembling my mom. This woman is the literal opposite. At least for her, the similarity that her dad and I have is we're both just funny
And that's my favorite
and we like
characteristic
to
that he
cook.
has.
Right, and we like to cook. Like that's it.
Yeah,
There's some big ones that were differences on like um
in many ways. Yeah,
yeah,
for
but
sure.
and not in negative, it's just we're opposite, right?
I mean, my dad's literally black. You're
Right,
literally
like
white.
right. So I wasn't gonna say
That's
it,
as opposite as it
but yeah.
gets.
Um, but yeah, so like that, just the fact that we ended up together against the whatever they want to call it, the stereotype,
Yeah,
um, is hilarious.
I love it. Back to the business, because I think this is really important, knowing your personality. But when you decided you weren't going to keep missing all these moments with me and Milani and you want to be part of it and, really ingrain our lives and businesses like more than we were able to, how was it giving up the control and like automating yourself out? And what did that process look like? And how it was probably, I know it was hard for you, one, because I walked through it with
So
you,
my
but
brother is majority owner, but it was always like this loose reign of power that I had that he allowed me to have because I built it before he got there and I had to have him leave his corporate job because I told him, hey, this is getting too big. Like we either need to hire two people in addition to me, or you need to leave because he was very familiar with everything and take a step back and come help me make this bigger because otherwise if we hire two people, we're just gonna give out more money that could be going into the business and making it grow. And we decided that that was the right move. And so giving up like the control and the power, like I think it's 50-50 currently. I don't think one of us, is ever gonna like overstep the other one. I mean, we still communicate about business decisions. I mean, right now we're literally talking about expanding, even though I'm not there day to day, but it's like if the business is gonna grow, then like it needs to happen, right? So um obviously if he felt like all the power was his, or I felt completely like I completely had no power, he just wouldn't have that conversation with me and just do it and then just deal with the whatever happens after that. Like um
So you guys are really respectful in how you communicate and how
I think
you.
he values the way I see things.
So his brother is still there running the shop. Travis has just been able to remove himself physically and help on the back end, or the things he can do while being present with us.
When we have our really big events, I'll go in.
Yeah.
If he needs me to step in for something that he's got to go do, like a wedding or something like that, like I'll go do it as long as I have enough heads up and there's
And his
nothing.
brother doesn't have like a wife and kids, so he doesn't have the same pool away from. That's more
Yeah.
of like his passion. And so we've decided not to sell the business right now, or I don't know, we don't know what's going to happen with it or whatever, but his brother is very great at running it, and that's how we've been able to get
Yeah.
you
And
out
I
of
go in
it.
and
So
once still going once a week anyway to help him out with deliveries. But I'm very much like day to day hands off.
do you actually feel like you didn't, like your situation is unique to where you didn't really have to give up control? Because
No, I feel
since
like in the first like 60 days, and then I feel like there was some obvious signs on the wall that I may or may not have set things up properly, or um, whatever the case may be, just specifics not to get into that. I realize, okay, I should probably have a little bit more control over certain situations to make everything a little bit more seamless. So,
Because you're an expert at what you're an expert
right.
at. So when you just like randomly remove that, it's
I'm
like,
good
okay,
at what
hold
I'm good
on.
at, and he's good at what he's good at.
Yes.
So,
And we still need what you're good at to be happening
right.
there. So that was like the learning curve of like, okay, have to clean this up, SOP here or whatever. Okay. And then, so now that you are home with us and this is like the next phase of life and really figuring out what that means to us. Like, what does this mean for you professionally and personally and us as a family? Like, what does building a future now look like for you? Because what we talk about as far as like dreams and aspirations and goals now is a lot different than what you thought it was before you met me, and then a lot different than what we talked about like when we first got together, because now
A
it's
lot of
just.
people that see what we do day to day or go through day to day, a lot of them see how much more involved I am with our everyday household making ways. So, leaving, the biggest thing for me was regaining my confidence that I was as good as a dad as I thought I was.
Oh, really?
Um, well, yeah, just missing the micro moments, right? Like that's not if you
You're really
feel
hard
like
on
you're a real
yourself.
good dad, like that's not life is life. But again, if you're just gonna sit there, like I called my own family out, if you're just gonna sit there and say like you did a good job, and it's just like you see there's other people out there doing better than you, it's not that they're more special. They clearly processed something and said, I'm gonna do this too.
Yeah.
Um, so, and that's no dig at anybody in a current position. Like I've always said I think I've said it literally on every single other episode. This has nothing to do with calling anybody out. This has everything to do is this is me, this is us, this is what we go through. Here's an eye opener potentially for you.
Yeah.
And that's all that is.
And I think we look at other people's lives as eye openers, and like we don't get triggered by other people. We're like, oh, this makes sense. This is how we can
That's what I'm
implement it in
saying.
our
It's
life.
just
So
if something's great. So, after the fact that I realized that, then being able to focus on ways to make other money and do non-taskful related businesses that can bring us income, that so much more easy to focus on, because I could have done that at the shop, but because I'm dealing with customers every single day, every 3 to 5 minutes walking in, sometimes they're in and out, sometimes they're there for 20 minutes.
yeah,
Um, that eats up, you lose your brain waves, you lose your thought pattern, someone might get under your skin. Like there's so many variables that now that your focus is locked in a different way, once you check your boxes at home, depending on what that might look like for you, me, or you, um, then you move forward. So obviously, we want to travel a lot. We want to see a lot of things. We want our daughter to see the world as a child and not as an adult. Um,
not only as an adult.
right. Not only as an adult. Uh, so
So
I,
not having a brick and mortar that like takes our time specifically, but like having businesses that allow us to run them
yeah,
from
I'm not opposed to owning brick and mortar businesses. I've never been opposed to it. I think
yeah.
that the world needs those. I think the economy needs those. I think people locally in your town need that. But as long as you know how to build in a fashion that doesn't rely just on you, and this is, I guess, more, it sounds obviously, but for me, my magic being customer service, like finding a business is going to be a lot harder to open where the magic isn't just me.
Yeah.
So,
And that's definitely the muscle that this all like forced us to build is like
right.
we know you don't want to have a life where like we have to where the business is our entire life. So it's now building the muscle of being able to build something that is self-sustainable with our like help or guidance
Right.
or vision. And now building personal brands and all that entails.
Right. Like a
I
lot of
love
people
it.
don't know is we have 4 other businesses outside of the brick and mortar, and they don't, like, these are things that we've been building since you were pregnant.
2019.
So, um, they're now just, they're rolling harder.
So fun. Well,
Um,
all right, we're getting over time. Let's wrap this up.
so there's obviously a lot more to the story.
And we definitely will go back and
Yeah. But I did type something up that I wanted to end on, and forgive me here.
I also just want to say really quickly, I love you and I'm so proud of you. And I think I cried 3 times during this episode. And even though like I know your story, obviously like the back of my hand, but to go through what you've gone through, which we didn't even touch on, we literally didn't even touch on so much stuff. And for you to still turn out to be the best dad and the best partner, I I just pray more people look to your story and they also just see that they don't have to be a product of what they've gone through or their environment.
No, that's
But
why I always tell people all the time, when someone says and uses the excuse that they only know what they're shown or they only know what they're taught, it's bullshit to me. It's just bullshit to me. That's a choice.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not the only person that didn't turn out. I literally have a sibling who went the complete opposite way.
which is why you,
And it's just like, so we saw the same shit, went through the same thing, had the same struggle, and yet that's the path she chose. And then I didn't choose that path. So remind me again how it's not a choice at that point. Like,
and that makes it hard for us to give, you give everybody
and you're older.
grace. Yeah, we give everybody grace, but it's hard to give people passes because I literally am
She got it
living
now,
with,
though. She understands. It only took her.
everybody
It took her a
does.
lot longer than she probably wanted to, but she got it.
Yeah,
She figured it out. She stopped hanging around with 90% of those people.
yep. But
Um,
I'm just really proud of you and
thank you.
you're welcome.
So I typed this out just because I did want everybody to hear and see a different kind of like wrap up, right? So don't worry, I'll still do my infamous outro. But so when I look back at everything, losing my dad and watching my mom fight her battles, learning business by trial and error, it all feels like chapters in the same book. Every moment that broke me, it also built me. At times, I forget some of those chapters because they were tough to go through. So if you've made it this far in this episode, maybe you see a piece of your own story in mine. Maybe you're in the middle of how did I get here as well. Hopefully you found a little motivation in all of this because just know God has you on this path and we were meant to cross paths today. So until next time, it's peace up and A-Town down.
And cut.